Welcome back. It's been a while since I've been asked to record a presentation that I recently delivered. If you've been following me, you know that I've updated my job role. I'm now working with Tonal, but this kind of impacts what I'm going to be sharing because this is a conversation that I've had in the past year with several gym owners and operators. And over the last months, I've had a chance to speak with a wide range of operators, studio founders, and owners across the market. And one pattern that keeps coming up is that health club models is no longer sufficient for where the industry is heading. This presentation is my attempt to put structure around many owners that are already feeling the future is less about renting access to equipment and more about building a infrastructure that's tiered, that has tech enablement around coaching, an ecosystem that provides member outcomes, an increased revenue per member as well, and we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about a better use of the square footage operators already have. So I want to show today that it's not just a trend report, but it's practical operating architecture for 2026 and beyond. And this was spurred by, if you're not following the lift, Mo is a chief strategy officer at ABC Financial, and Matthew Januzik from Escape Your Limits. Great podcast. They interviewed Mark Mastroff, and it really got me to think about the industry right now. And this was a presentation that I put together for a group of owners and operators that were trying to get a better idea of the theme. And one of the clearest themes I keep hearing from owners is that the middle is getting squeezed. And this was actually what Mark Mastroff said, that on one end, there's high volume, and on the other end, there's low price brands that are winning on access. So the convenience, the pricing, and then on the boutiques, you have a premium model that are winning on specialization, community, coaching, and higher yields per member. This leaves traditional mid-market operators in a danger zone where competing on equipment access alone is increasingly hard to defend. So strategically, the question becomes, how do you inject a boutique level of value into a larger club footprint without blowing away your labor cost? So that operational expense is something that every owner and operator has been struggling with, and since post-pandemic, they're trying to fix. So the system's broken. And when I talk to owners about profitability, personal training almost always comes up as both an opportunity and a frustration. Being a personal trainer for 12 years in the past and have worked with them for the last 25 years, this slide kind of captures that core problem. One-on-one PT trends really tend to plateau and have low penetration, about 3 to 5%. And that means overwhelmingly a majority of members remain under monetized from a coaching perspective. In other words, this is not members that do not need help. It is a traditional delivery model that is too dependent on individual trainers' abilities to put on their business hat, or it's too expensive for members and it's too narrow to scale meaningfully across a base. So this presents an engine problem to kind of talk to. So what I believe is owners need to know it's a results first model, and it's infrastructure that they need to look at that matches the service delivery to the member and the willingness to pay on the level of need. So tier one is a base membership model, and this is what we're seeing. We're seeing a strategic pivot to a three-tiered fitness model as a one type of model, I should say. I have an upcoming podcast with Stratego, and I will comment on that in my links. And Stratego actually has an interesting business model that talks about this. Tier two talks about small group coaching that acts like a bridge to a broad to middle membership. And then tier three captures a high level lifetime value member through premium training like recovery, a deeper wellness service. The key idea here is that every member that enters your structured system, more members can migrate upward over time. And the data generated through the lower tiers makes the higher tiers smarter and more personalized. And the goal here is to create data, and this data lake is really important. So that's why you have to have partners in this. And I think ABC Financial is a great organization. Stratego is a great organization. You have many other players in this market space, Ramp, Shameless, Plug, Tonal, in this space. And part of this discussion, we took a look at each tier. So a lot of owners told me that the onboarding is still too manual, too inconsistent, and it depends on staff bandwidth. So this is where tier one matters, because all the data shows that in the first 30 days of becoming a member, the system, if it's not staffed or it's burdened, then the digital baseline assessment, the moving into an algorithm of a goal setting, into then an automated intervention to flag churn risk, which if it's done properly at this tier, good effective models create more consistent member experiences, reduce early attrition, and also build a data foundation that builds onto the next tier that we're going to talk to. So it's the upsell that both is more relevant, but it's an easier execution. So base is what we probably see right now in clubs. However, we're not delivering within the first 3 to 4 days the services and the outcomes. So the first 30 days are critical. And I think this is something that's not new or shouldn't be a shock. This is kind of our ongoing data, and I'll refer to my sources at the end of the presentation so you have it. And coincidentally, if anyone's listening that wants to have a copy of this, let me know in the comment section. This is a slide that I think many mid-market operators should spend most time on, because tier two is where the economics really begin to change. Instead of asking one coach to generate more revenue from one client at a time, the model shifts towards one coach serving a small group where they improve their hourly yield, but opens up the accessibility to a price point for a majority of the members that builds social connection, that also supports retention. The other reason here it matters is it's all about utilization. Owners repeatedly mention that the dead zones in their clubs and the small group formats give them ways to monetize the off-peak capacity that otherwise it'll sit idle. So this could be a great opportunity where technology could also be automating some of these services, as well as also helping coaches service 6 clients at the same time by collecting the data meaningfully. Historically, I've done this with heart rate monitors, and there's several examples in the market space that do this: MyZone, Polar, Self Loops. I did it with Mio and Orange Theory. We provided their wearable solution. We also partnered with a couple of different heart rate solution providers at that time, like custom solutions. But again, I invite you guys to ask me questions about tier 2 a little bit more. The final tier to kind of bring this tiered system together is the premium end of the market is evolving, and it's beyond this simple add-on and towards a broader longevity and recovery proposition. I spoke to Victor Verhaag, V-Man in the industry. I apologize, Victor, if I butchered the name on that one. V-Man really has a great solution around recovery in a meaningful way that addresses the workflow in a fitness facility, but also adds data, and you could actually incorporate digital solutions, your in-body, your blood pressure. So you can custom these two different types of rooms, a biometric integrated room and then a longevity model room. So you're segmenting your floors. So what I'm hearing from operators is that they're observing across the market that this biometric integration, recovery modalities, and more clinical adjacent services are moving from a niche, nice to have, to differentiate towards mainstream, but also the expectations of a higher value member, but also the member that's not being serviced. The stats are there to support this. Again, I'm going to refer to the Lyft episode with Mark Mastroff, as well as UFC's CEO, Adam, as well as ABC Financial's leader and president, talking about the data. So for the right customer, tier 3 is not just about training harder. It's about creating a premium outcome-oriented experience that justifies a much higher monthly spend while keeping the spend inside the club ecosystem. So it's a shift, a paradigm shift. We're asking for a tech infrastructure, but not equipment. It's not just the equipment, I should say. A connected strength machine really provides an opportunity for an operator, because the issue is more and more people still come up with the same issues. Limited in time. I'm looking for connection, or I'm also looking for correction in my form and mechanics. Or I'm looking not to hurt myself. So one of the biggest mindset changes for owners is to stop thinking about connected strength as just purchasing equipment, or recovery for that fact. If you're looking for this correctly, your connected strength becomes an infrastructure. It supports real-time progression from feedback and to centralizing the member. Their operating system or their workflow can really go beyond an individual coach and a staff member. The goal here is to teach them to become more an experts themselves, because that's really what, as a trainer, I always looked at it as, I have a Padawan. I'm gonna date myself. I'm a Star Wars geek. I'm the Jedi, and I'm trying to make my Padawan a Jedi. That matters because once technology starts producing assessment data, programming data, and engagement data in one system, it stops being a capital expenditure line and it starts becoming a backbone more about scalable coaching models. It's a co-pilot with the instructor. So that really creates this human and AI symbiosis. And this is a topic that everyone is talking about. Again, the Lyft, I'm going to refer to, as well as several professionals in the market space. If we're looking at it clearly at this point, because it's often oversimplified, AI is not a replacement for the coach. It's an operational co-pilot for the coach. The machine is best at processing large volumes of data. It automates routine. It also identifies risk and opportunity patterns, while the human coach remains essential for empathy, motivation, relationship building, a nuanced movement correction, When those roles are designed well, the results is really that the coach can handle more members with more precision and less administrative friction, and which is really exactly the kind of leverage that owners are asking for. So are trainers, because it's an objective data point that I can have that tough conversation with a member. And then, the other aspect here that I really thought was really interesting to see how the future unfolds is that it's going to unlock a new growth segment. GLP-1s, longevity and biohacking, active aging, medical adjacent rehab protocols are now entering this space. It's going to still take time, but I think the person that addresses this and brings this into their infrastructure is a pattern that's hard to ignore, really. It's an addressable market around the club that's changing. So owners are increasingly encountering opportunities. I've spoken to a company by the name of Corb Health. I did that podcast as well, an episode. I'll make sure to put it into the show notes as well. And they talk about how business owners are creating a better lifetime value experience for that member, because it's not only a supervised resistance training program, but it's also an active aging population seeking functional longevity. Then you have a younger consumer that's interested in biohacking and recovery, and more directly, health management. So my view is that the operators who win will be the ones that will stop seeing these as a separate niche and start designing a service architecture that can serve all of these four connected platforms. So for them to work, you need to have the strength training data. You need to have the bioimpedance data. So by having this infrastructure, it really creates impact, and it decouples the revenue from the payroll. This is the model that becomes especially compelling for business from a business perspective. Historically, growth is a service revenue that has often required an increase in payroll, but tech-enabled operating models creates the possibility really of expanding the revenue per member without a linear increase necessarily in staffing. But it also provides the staffing an increase in salary, which they're asking for. So for owners facing wage pressure, margin compression, and uneven utilization, this is the real strategic value. Better monetization, more leverage in off-peak hours, and business models that is less fragile when the cost of labor is rising. So it's presents a win-win here, and this is what we're seeing right now in the space. And we're seeing very new software partners in the space talking about a new executive dashboard that manages a connected club. And you're seeing this today. They're talking about these metrics: revenue per member, coaching conversion, engagement velocity, 90-day retention, measurable outcomes, off-peak utilization. This is the conversation that matters right now. These are good lead indicators, not lag indicators where we're looking back at revenue numbers. So an operator with these metrics in one place no longer manage a facility. They're managing a dynamic coaching and retention system. So where did I get my information? These are my sources. Again, I'll gladly email you this. Just leave your request in the comment section. Fitness and market trends, AI technology, longevity and wellness, and then Tonal's Connected Strength Platform, and then the academic research that I pulled several sources from. I enjoyed the first presentation where I talked about the heavy truths of aging. I hope this helps you. I want to leave you with this core idea where I want to really look at it simple. The future of health clubs is, and this goes also for medical spas and rec centers and even P2P PT locations, is that while using technology to provide a higher value, more humans, but deliver it in a more human way, we will be much stronger positioned to break through this old revenue model and the ceiling that it presents, and creates a more resilient, higher margin model without adding more members, because you can just stay with smaller members and provide a tiered solution. So after speaking to so many operators, my sense that this shift is no longer theoretical. The question is not whether the model changes, but who's going to move early enough to lead it. And that's where I think we're seeing that today with the big names like Mark Mastroff and other players in the industry. Again, I hope this helps. To contact me, please, if you have any other questions.